Coming up on today's wrestling news, AEW's TNT Championship has been stolen. A Raw star made a surprise return at NXT Roadblock last night. Dragon Lee has made his WWE debut. And will injury rule Ronda Rousey out of WrestleMania? I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Hamflet.
And this is the news. And a big story to start with that was all over social media last night. Wardlow just won the TNT Championship, of course, at Revolution. He's probably going to lose if he can find it, at Dynamite tonight to Powerhouse Hobbs. But somewhere in California, someone is running around with the TNT Championship after Wardlow's rental car was broken into on Tuesday evening. The champ posted a video to his Twitter with the tagline, "Might have new gear tomorrow. We'll also have an abundance of frustration to take out, to say the very least. Damn." In the video, he says, "Thanks to the person who just broke into my rental car and took absolutely everything from me, my TNT title, my gear, my boots, my whole life was in those bags." And you see like there's glass shattered all over. They've just obviously smashed the window and grabbed everything. Feel awful for Wardlow but it's becoming a worrying trend in AEW of losing championships just after you've won them.
Aye, that's the really morbidly comical bit of an otherwise quite sad story, isn't it? Really quick caveat, because this is a piece of news right now. If this ends up being a work, I don't think it is.
No.
And we're not going to speculate on that for now.
No.
I think it's quite an interesting one. But let's assume reality, because it's better to assume reality and show a bit of sympathy for a pretty awful situation. And you'd rather be proven wrong and be sympathetic than blowing it off as a work and then be right after the fact.
Yeah,
just rubbish. Just an awful invasion of your life, any kind of situation like this. He will feel terrible. He will probably feel insecure, as these things do to people. Not the worst thing, you got that specific gear stolen if it was on you or at Revolution. But that is me trivialising it. So I've just been a massive hypocrite. But otherwise, it's really terrible.
Imagine if you'd been caught mid-steal.
That's it. You've yet again picked the wrong guy to steal from. Wrestlers, what are you thinking? Even Chris Jericho in his advancing years, I still wouldn't want to nick something from. I certainly would never badmouth him on any sort of public forum because I fear the repercussions of it. Yeah. And Wardlow even more so. I hope obviously the police bring this man to justice, but a little bit of me hopes Wardlow finds him first.
Well, yeah, there's a bit of
that. Stuff.
Yeah, there's also a bit of me that's like, what do you do if you've stolen that? Where'd you get that from?
Yeah.
What's this? It's the TNT Championship.
Aye.
Right.
What pawn shop is going to want to have to face those consequences? There it is, the literal AEW TNT Championship. I think the police might be onto this. I think somebody might spot that and want it back. I think somebody might take a picture. It's kind of valueless to whoever gets hold of it. Didn't Jericho one end in the person handing it back in before they encountered trouble?
I think so, yeah.
So this might go that way. Look, all seriousness, because it is easy. It's about, it's all a bit silly and it's easy to have fun. It's somebody's personal effects that have been stolen. That's really just awful.
Rubbish.
You hope that the story has a conclusion similar to the Jericho one, in things that just dealt with it. I'm sorry.
That's what I'd say. I'd say if they do catch the person, or the person wants to give it back, I think they should have to personally apologise to the two contenders for the TNT Championship. So I'm including Powerhouse Hobbs in this. Oh, actually, you know what? And the former champion. We'll do it. Anyone who's potentially held the championship in the last 7 days, if you've stolen it, you have to go up on Dynamite and personally apologise to them, and they're allowed to hit one move on you.
One free shot.
Just a Powerbomb Symphony, a Spinebuster, and then Joe chokes them out. Well, I'll never commit any more crimes again.
A crime doesn't pay message courtesy.
Jeez.
Yeah, awful. Hope Wardlow's okay. We'll see. I genuinely think if this is all fact, I think they'll fold it into the fiction tonight on Dynamite, because AEW sort of does use reality when it can. They're aware that the fans are plugged into what's happening online. If it's in any way remotely fiction, I guess we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
But either way, I think we'll see those worlds colliding tonight on Dynamite.
Yeah, and all the fallout from AEW Revolution. But speaking of the best pay-per-view in March, it was NXT Roadblock last night.
How can that be a pay-per-view? I watched it for free.
Oh yeah, good point. It was a premium live event, but it was still better than AEW Revolution. One of the reasons why it's better than AEW Revolution, this guy, just let me have it, eh? Because he normally, Andy here, would never let me get away with this.
Give him this one.
Yeah. It was really good though. I genuinely really enjoyed it. We'll talk about it on the podcast later, and we'll finally get around, by the way, if you're wondering, to reviewing AEW Revolution before previewing AEW 9 WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcast from.
All the big shows of March on one day.
Yes.
How people looking?
But yeah, a lot of speculation heading into last night's show that Shawn Michaels was going to wrestle at NXT Stand and Deliver. It was going to be set up on last night's show with Grayson Waller inviting him on the brilliant Grayson Waller Effect TV show. And he did challenge him, and in the end, Shawn Michaels was like, I'm really old and I'd love to kick your ass, but there's one person who'd like to kick your ass even more. Who should return but Johnny Gargano? How didn't we see this coming? I thought this was a brilliant development. Yeah. Johnny Gargano returned. Of course, Grayson Waller kicked him out of NXT whilst he was saying farewell back in December of 2021. Gargano obviously just got a victory on Monday Night Raw the other day. And he's a legend of NXT. He will be returning presumably for Stand and Deliver for that show over WrestleMania weekend. I love this as a development.
It was a hell of a reveal if you care about NXT, and like me, you and Michael Sidgwick do. So that makes three of us. And
you should.
Hopefully you watch
damn respect on that show.
Yeah, maybe if you're watching this, you will do now. Maybe you're a Johnny Gargano fan and you think, well, I was a reason to tune to Stand and Deliver. In which case, this has already done its job. A couple of things to this. It's genuinely quite good LTST if you cared at all that Gargano was written out through Grayson Waller and never got his revenge. That's not bad. That's earnestly not bad stuff. I think you pointed this out when we were talking about this over the desks. It is the sort of thing that other wrestling companies would be credited for because it's like worth remembering little details, and they've done that here, even though it's probably fallen into the lap, perhaps.
Yeah, I just think this company is better at telling stories than others, maybe compared to.
I'm going to brush past that and say as well, it's a good...
I'm so naughty when Dad's not here.
It's a good job that, to be fair, Shawn and Triple H have had one eye on each other's work because Gargano's had nout going on Monday Night Raw. The reason he fits so well into this straight away is because it wasn't like there was much on the WrestleMania docket for him, was there? But they've given him a win on Monday to at least send him to NXT in a slightly better fettle than he was, even 7 days ago? So if nothing else, they're like a very, very quick fix. We need him to be important tomorrow.
Yes.
And there's still all this. NXT's got a weird situation now where it is and it isn't attached to its own history.
Yes.
Gargano straddles that almost perfectly, doesn't it? Like he was comedic as the guy in the way as much as he was this heroic figure of the old black and gold. So he kind of like, he straddles those two sides quite nicely, and the Waller match will probably be Waller's best ever, I would imagine.
Yes.
So,
Well, apart from, what was the name of that match that we loved? The countdown one?
Oh, yeah, the one in December, which I've already forgotten the name of. Countdowns
awesome.
and cages and all that sort of stuff. Remind us in the comments because we've already forgotten. It genuinely kicked ass, and I can't remember the name of the stipulation. It was stupid. It had countdowns and cages and all sorts. Really good that was. Iron Survivor.
That was it from NXT Deadline.
Yes.
It was really good, and like you say, WWE seeming to finally remember, the thing that we can do to showcase Johnny Gargano is let him wrestle.
Yeah.
So don't have him do stupid bollocks with Dexter Lumis.
As well, Shawn, I know we have Grayson Waller as the heel in this story, but I thought that Shawn Michaels was going to go high, picking which friend, and he's apparently gone low, because height doesn't matter in pro wrestling.
Also, your thoughts quickly. I assume it's a work. If it isn't, just in case, get well soon, Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez retained the NXT Women's Championship in a brilliant match against Miko Satomura on last night's show, and then collapsed a la Shawn Michaels following a match with Owen Hart.
It was Owen Hart in November 1995 edition of Raw. That was when this man said he was sick of the suits making him smile on the front of the magazine and out with Vincent McMahon as the boss. Great Raw that was. Great moment, and indeed I thought this was too. 18 years? 28 years? Is that about 28 years? Jesus Christ. 28 years. That's more than enough time to recycle this story, and I thought it played really well. The Miko match was good, but I will remember it more for the aftermath and the effects of that, which kind of puts over Miko, even in the fact that she lost too.
Yes. If it's not a work, obviously get well soon.
Yeah, Satomura and Perez, worth checking out, but this angle was played out really well. Booker T's relationship with Roxanne on commentary
was
used very well because he hopped off commentary to get in the ring showing his concern, and they went off the air with no commentary and no hubristic kind of celebration of Perez's win. It was all concern for her health and that.
The fact there was no X thrown up and they followed her through the back kind of gave it away.
Played well, and she's truthfully so far and above the rest of that division that it gives whichever heel challenges her at Stand and Deliver the advantage of going against her.
Who's that going to be again? Oh yeah, Tiffany Stratton. Oh my God, she's going to be world champion.
It gives Tiffany and her epiphany of winning the NXT title more credence with Roxanne Perez not being fully fit.
What a night that could be for the Wilborn household.
I love how your WrestleMania weekend will be over before WrestleMania has started.
Do what you like with Cody and Roman, I don't care. All like this guy, more on him in a little while. Dragon Lee is officially on NXT now.
You were going to say All Elite there, weren't you?
My brain is so used to doing it. They gave him the old sort of takeover treatment, basically, of here he is appears on the front row. It's just in the weird location that NXT is. He was shown before the arguably the best six-man match we've had in the last 7 days. Bron Breakker and the Creed Brothers versus Jinder Mahal and Indus Sher. And he obviously has been heading there for quite some time, had some visa issues. That's what the delays were. Vic Joseph described him as an international sensation. He's obviously a former AAA tag team champion. No word on what he's going to be doing going forward. No word even if he's going to have a match at Stand and Deliver. But a sensational talent finally to get into WWE.
Yeah, we talked about this on the NXT preview podcast yesterday, which is going to listen to on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get them. It was our learned colleague Michael Sidgwick that made the point that it's been so long since NXT was the place that hosted all the indie darlings that what's old is new again. This sort of does feel fresh. And the roster is starting to show signs of being the right hybrid between a few indie standouts and some developmental prospects that need a lot of time down there. We're seeing earnestly great matches on this brand now, but they are kind of peppered in amongst the silliness.
Yes.
Dragon Lee is going to be seasoning beyond pepper, put it like that.
Nathan Fraser, Axiom, Dragon Lee, Wesley, Carmelo Hayes, you know, on the female side of things, Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, Miko Satomura.
It's becoming a nice half and half of a show, and I think Dragon Lee is probably the perfect wrestler at the perfect time to like provide that kind of action. Stand and Deliver will almost certainly have a multi-man match. They might just jump into the Wesley dream match and just book it out of nowhere.
That Mad Ladder match was great last year.
Yeah, like so he'd fit there. Wesley's been taking on all comers as kind of his gimmick, so Dragon Lee being the perfect guy to just step straight into a title match would rule. There are immediately things for him to do, and you genuinely wouldn't have said that in NXT a year ago. It wouldn't have fit, quite honestly. So this, like, hopefully, if like wrestler lives up to expectations and the promotion does too, this could be quite a nice union.
And Von Wagner, I forgot to mention him.
Oh, of course.
Right, let's talk Ronda Rousey.
He is not a dragon, he is a man.
Wes, is this your brother? You both have the surname Lee.
Man Lee and your brother Wes.
Right. Let's talk Ronda Rousey and what's going on with her at WrestleMania, because the story keeps changing on this. Obviously, going all the way back, it was going to be her versus Becky Lynch. Then that died.
Feels like the ancient history.
Yeah. And then it seemed to be the direction that they were going to be heading in was Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch and Lita for those women's tag team championships. Now, that may still happen. There's speculation, I believe, from Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio that they could do the whole Trish, Lita and Becky versus Damage Control on night one and then night two a tag team title match. But concern over Ronda Rousey's wellness, basically. If you watched SmackDown last week, you may have seen that she had an arm in a sling. She's aggravated an old arm injury. And Meltzer said she's likely not to be 100% healthy at WrestleMania. The plan appears to still be to do that tag team title match. But yeah, it's really not that far away, WrestleMania. Concerning times.
No, when they announced the match on Raw, you were kind of then very aware that Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey as an act, and Ronda Rousey especially as a star, were
no, I don't understand it either, love.
Conspicuous by their absence on this WrestleMania show. There weren't, you know, we talk about night one and night two and how you can use certain people wanted, like maybe Roman defending the title twice.
Yeah.
You know, there's ways in which you can use the 2-night WrestleMania format to your advantage. This could be one. It does sort of take the pressure off Ronda Rousey to be 100% if she's not going to be, if they're in a match of lesser spotlight, should we say, against Becky and Lita with the 6th woman already there. Kind of night one or night two. Either way, you have them work the title match, which means that Becky and Lita go in hurt for the 6th woman, or you work the 6th woman first, and then it's like, and then the serious business tomorrow night because the belts are on the line. But either way, as a kind of 1A, 1B, rather than putting all this pressure on Rousey Lynch and the big moment where they come together, you almost intentionally diluting it for the good of the expectation management. So that's probably the way to go. I hope she's good to go for it, because I think a WrestleMania is worse off without her.
Yes.
But the booking being so, I don't know, I don't want to just say out loud.
Mad to think it's been less than a year and a half since she came back.
It's been a pretty shoddy comeback, so it almost suits them to have to stay kind of half in, half out with this injury.
Yeah. Get well soon, Ronda. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Keith Boss. Best question we've got today, this. Who writes, where does Tony D go now? Tony D'Angelo beat Dijak in a jailhouse street fight last night, you schmucks. Sorry, Nicholas, I couldn't help myself. He's finished off Dijak. I say surprise first program with the champion Cody. Your thoughts? No arguments from me.
No, it's Cody on WWE main roster, Dragon Lee on NXT. Can only be one or the other.
I want him to win the title. By the way, shout out to Stax, putting his body on the line. We sometimes get him as a guest on our podcast. Hopefully you'll show up today if he's feeling well enough.
The real Forbidden Door was the one slammed into Stax's chest last night when he jumped in front of it.
I got him, boy!
Like it was a bullet. Do you think he was trying to impress Judgment Day?
That's a good impression of Stax. It's the first one I've done for ages.
It is, yeah. Normally
rubbish.
We'll ask him about it in person on the podcast later.
WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcast from.
There's a cow and an elephant there.
He's not wrong. Second question today, maybe a better question in terms of a genuinely interesting, serious question, but they both have their qualities. Shawn Acklin writes, because even he thought it was a bad idea to be WCW World Heavyweight Champion, even he became a real pro wrestler, even fighting Nick effing Gage of all people. I respect the hell out of David Arquette. What has a pro wrestler done to earn your utmost respect?
Arquette's a great one, isn't it? Because he donated all of his money, I believe, to the Brian Pillman Foundation at the time. Respected the business enough to...
We've got an interview with him I did a while back. He was a lovely man.
Indeed, yeah. Like, to give back, which is really, really nice. There was a couple of stories that sprung to mind. We did talk about this question a little bit before. And the Chris Masters one, you've never heard.
Never heard
so
this.
So I'll share the full details here. It was 2013. Chris Masters, who was kind of in and out of WWE quite a lot around the time, and I believe he was out in that cycle, but he was Chris Masters. Look at him. His mother was trapped in a house fire. Her house was on fire, and he had to move a tree out of the way in order to help her break free. I think he smashed it. He moved a tree, smashed a window, saved his mother from a burning building.
Wow.
That's like Marvel superhero stuff. And he looked like Chris Masters while doing it, presumably. And I don't believe WWE re-signed him off the back of it or ever made this part of the story. But just like an incredible tale. And another one that sticks in the back of my mind because it ultimately came to nothing. And he's got some political views that are kind of a bit all over the place. But like, for Jesse Ventura to try and unionise pro wrestling in 1986, like if you think of the time frame and the fact that he was working very literally, as it turned out, against Hulk Hogan to get this done because it was him that grassed him up to the boss. Like, that takes some guts, and I thought he showed quite a bit. He saw the way and got into acting to get his Screen Actors Guild card, which also set the kind of like the idea in motion for other wrestlers to think about how they could look after themselves a little bit.
A bit like that. I've got a lot of time for whenever Chris Jericho donates to all these charities that people...
people are complex.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it be, looking after Brody Lee's family, or whether it be, a wrestler needing surgery or whatever. I always have a lot of time for that, regardless of how I feel politically compared to Chris Jericho. Yeah. But I think the name that jumped into both of our heads is a guy we have a great relationship with here, and we wish, fingers crossed, he will one day be able to come back to a wrestling ring, because he is genuinely the nicest man in all of wrestling. Yeah. The guy involved with Our Heroes Rock. We talked a lot about it with him at the time, and go and check it out and go and support it. It's Big E.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't need any more reason to like Big E. Just watching his character on television, I'm like, what a guy. But chatting to him...
he was nice to us.
Yeah.
Us. Imagine making time for us. Loser freaks that we are.
That's his one flaw. Why would you do something like that?
He's a bad judge of character.
Yeah. But what a lovely bloke.
Yeah, Our Heroes Rock's an awesome cause. He talks loads about it. We were lucky enough for him to do he streamed a game with Miller, I think, on 2K, just so they could have a longer chat about it. That's done on our YouTube channel. Check it out. As you always say, and I love that you always do this, for you, take as long as you need, but for us, I hope that is soon. Yes. Like, we want you back as much as you want to be back.
Final question today comes from Matt Thorne. Hi guys, while Roman is holding both titles was part of his overall persona, I don't see the same thing being necessary for Cody. If he wins, could you see him giving one up as a prize for the winner of King of the Ring?
Ooh.
I was with you. As I was like, this question I'll be in the first off, I'm not lying. Like, give it up, but putting it up there for King of the Ring.
There is something to be said for splitting these belts back when Cody's done it. Cody has been very smart in talking about how he wants to win the WWE title as a tribute to Dusty Rhodes, but ultimately to end the Roman Reigns stranglehold on all of WWE, he's got to take both.
Yeah, he's watering it down otherwise.
Yeah, you have to take both of them off. I was never into splitting belts for night one, night two, all of that. He's got to bring him down wholesale, and you do that by taking both titles. After the fact, maybe not. Maybe not. Becky Lynch had 2 for a month. They made her defend both belts at Money in the Bank, and she lost one to Charlotte Flair. So they could do that. Cody, I like the idea of Cody the Workhorse having to defend both in separate matches. I think he stacked the deck against a guy like Cody Rhodes. Imagine him at Backlash working twice and winning twice, and it's like, man, what a role this guy is on. Yeah. Because there's one heel, it's off the top of my head, but a Baron Corbin, a real sneaky heel that somehow got himself a title match against a wounded Rhodes, who then manages to win out anyway. Like, you can lose in that exact same context. Giving it up I'm less keen on, but I mean, what a prize to fight for.
For putting it up, for re-establishing the prestige of King of the Ring. I really like that as a suggestion. And finally, everyone was getting excited yesterday, Hamlet, about that image shared by Don Callis. Our focus is back, be afraid of him and Kenny Omega. Slightly undercut for me by Lance Storm sharing the photo. Did you see his comment?
No.
So Don Callis is there pointing Kenny Omega in, looking resplendent in a suit. Lance Storm responded, "You should save some of that fake tan for your hands and ankles, because if you actually look closely..."
Oh no, Lance! Normally,
he's murdered him there.
Normally, there's like sort of a morbid hilarity about his like obituary posts, but like he's killed Don Callis while he's still alive.
It's a completely different colour.
Goodness gracious me, that is incredible.
My cousin has the opposite problem. He's always got bright orange hands.
And the palm of his hands as well, from where he's been applying it all right.
Not that same one. My other cousin dyed his hair jet black for his wedding day. He's got the same hair colour as me. I know. I've known you for years. With this skin complexion, you can't do it.
That's 2 American Office jokes in one bit, isn't it? Because that's Creed dyeing his hair black to look young with printer ink, and it's Kevin wearing a wig for a wedding where he goes to it like with office colleagues. Hey, nice hair that you've grown.
Right, let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget
that didn't happen. Dig them out.
I'll show you some later, don't you worry. Like, share, subscribe to What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Very much looking forward to today's output. As I said, NXT Roadblock review. Maybe we can do an AEW Revolution review. I'm genuinely doing it, of course. And an AEW Dynamite preview coming your way a little bit later on today. Thoughts, Twitter questions, all that good stuff at WhatCulture WWE on Twitter. Watch there. You can follow both of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. But for now, my thanks to Michael Hamflett. Thank you for joining us. We're off to eat some mung beans, and we'll see you soon.